I can completely understand being at a point where you feel so Hey Spoonies, how are you? So I am finally back with another video, and this time at home, so no loud car sounds. I'm able to talk to you guys sitting at home on my couch, and hopefully the quality is good because I upgraded my phone and I got a nice stand, so the camera is not going to be wonky and moving, and hopefully the sound is okay. So today I wanted to talk about horror stories throughout the years I've been a patient. So I know probably everyone has them. I know I for sure have horror stories where things have really happened to me. And I know that times the doctors have even kind of shut me down and said things to me. So I just thought it'd be, I don't want to say fun, but just something to because sometimes it's not okay to talk about the things that have happened to us, or people won't let us share the things that have happened. So I thought it would be a good topic to bring up, and hopefully you would feel comfortable sharing some things that have happened to you as well as a patient. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is something that happened to me back in 2012, and this was actually really traumatizing to me back when it initially happened. And I think I may have, I know I did mention that something horrific happened to me after my son was born, but I don't think I went into details on what that was. And the details that I'm going to share may be a little graphic, and I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say or not to say. So I'm just gonna kind of just be careful how I word certain things. So it was 2012. This is when I was pregnant with my son, and my water broke unexpectedly. So I immediately got sent over to the hospital. They told me that since my water was broke, I was for sure gonna have a baby. I was excited because obviously baby's coming, right? So they bring in the ultrasound. They let me know that they're gonna do an ultrasound so they can see what position the baby's in and where we're gonna go from there. In the moment that they're doing the ultrasound, I can literally feel my son do a flip. And at that moment, his full force foot comes out of my, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word, so I'm just gonna say my V. Full force, his foot came out of my V. And at that point, I start screaming at the ultrasound tech, and I'm going, his foot came out. And she looks down there and she goes, oh my gosh, you're right, his foot is out. So she said, I have to get the doctor. She leaves the room. She brings in the doctor. He comes in all nonchalantly, like, I doubt the foot's out. I doubt this is emergent. He looks under the cover. He goes, oh yeah, there's a foot there. And he then informs me that he's got to take me in for emergency surgery. They wheel me into emergency C-section. They tell me that it's going to be an hour max. They're going to put me under, they're going to get the baby out, and then they'll wake me up. I wake up 6 hours later, and at this point, it was noon when my water broke, and I know that specifically because I worked at a Catholic hospital, and I heard the little bells go off. They set them off every day at noon, and my water broke minutes after, maybe not even a minute after the bell went off. And so it was dark time when I woke up, and so I was like, that was for sure not an hour. What's going on? Where's my baby? My baby wasn't in the room. So I start crying. I start screaming for someone to come in the room. The nurse comes in. I see blood bags hanging, IV bags hanging. My first thought is I lost my son. I had no idea what had happened. Nobody was in there with me, and she tells me that she's gonna go find my family, she's gonna find a doctor, and that someone would be in soon. So my family comes in. They let me know, thankfully, that I'm alive, the baby's alive. He's just really sick. They have him in a intense, baby NICU, and there was a lot of complications, and that they would have the doctor come in and talk to me. So that's when we find out in the cesarean that my bladder had ruptured. They had to wait for the urologist to come all the way from his private event that he was at into the hospital and repair my bladder. The baby had to be resuscitated because he had been strangled to death by all the adhesions that were in my stomach. And those adhesions, and it was also endometriosis, were all from my previous surgeries from my Hirschsprung's disease, so they're related to my colon. Okay, so because I was born with Hirschsprung's disease, I had a colostomy bag pull through. If you've watched my videos, you know I had a history of lots of colon surgeries previously. So because of all those histories of surgeries and stuff like that, that's what caused the problems I was having with my son, with the birth of my son. Thankfully, in those moments, we find out that my bladder was able to be repaired. It was just going to be a long-term recovery for myself, for the baby, and that I was going to have a catheter long-term, but everything from here on out should just be taking things easy and making a recovery. At that point, because of my history with my colon, it was very difficult for me to go to the bathroom. And if you've ever had a baby and you're a female, you know that your bowels slow down from all the medicine they give you. So even if you don't already have bowel complications or a bowel disease, whether Hirschsprung's or otherwise, your bowels slow down so much because of all the medicine they push through your body. And anesthesia especially will slow down your bowels. So that's why when they tell you when you go in for surgeries, etc., prep your bowels beforehand, because that anesthesia is going to slow down those bowels. So obviously, having an emergency cesarean, I was not able to prep my bowels beforehand. So it was probably 2 days after my cesarean, I had not went to the restroom. And of course, they will not discharge, which I was nowhere near ready to discharge yet, but they would not discharge me until I had bowel movement. That is one of the expectations after you have a baby anyways. They will not discharge you until you have bowel movement. So I was continuously telling the nurse, like, I'm just so backed up, like, I already have bowel problems, like, I need something to help me. So they were giving me, they were giving me enemas, they were giving me bowel medicines, and my bowels were not moving. So then it was probably, I don't want to lie, but it was probably like 3 or 4 days later, still had not had a bowel movement. It got to a point where I was like miserable. I was so sick. I was to a point where I felt like I was going to start vomiting my bowels, because before, which I guess I should have prefaced this by saying, sorry, I had a message pop up, that I had not went to the restroom before my water broke, probably 2 days already before that, because my bowels were slow anyways. So at this point, it had been over a week that I had went without having a bowel movement. So it got to a point where I could feel that I had stool at the lower end of my colon, but I just could not move it out. So the nurse, there was an older nurse on staff that day, and she came in the room and she seen how miserable I was, and I was crying, and I told her, I was like, I'm just so miserable, I just don't know what to do, like, I'm so sick. And she said, like, I can help you. She's like, she said, I've had other patients before. She's like, where I can help them. She's like, and I was like, I don't understand what you mean. Like, I told her, I was like, I was like, what do you mean you can help me? Like, I've done the enemas, I've taken all the medicine, like, I just need to go to the bathroom. And she was like, well, she was like, we can do I think she called it a decompactation, decompact. Anyways, basically she wanted to put her hand into my rectum and pull out the rest of the stool that was blocking the looser stool. And at that point, I was so desperate and miserable, and I was like, yes, let's try it. Like, at this point, I just feel so awful. I just had a baby. I'm in so much pain. Like, I was like, yes, just do whatever. If you think it's gonna help, let's do it. So she has me turn on my side, and she lets me know she's gonna get gloved up. She's gonna, that's what she's gonna do. And she does her I'm just going to call it exam. She does her exam, and she lets me know that she wasn't able to complete it. So she goes to do it again, and this time she wasn't able to do it correctly. Instead, she went in the wrong location. She went to the area where my baby should have came out, and not where my stool was coming out. And it was violating. It was the most horrific thing I'd ever experienced in my life. I felt just violated. And after I told her to stop. I was like, I don't remember the exact words, but I screamed. I said, stop. I let her know that she was not where she thought she was. At that point, I had my stepdad come in the room. He was a nurse. He was an LPN, a nurse. And I let him know what had happened. He let me know that I needed to file a complaint with the lead nurse that was on staff. So it was nighttime at the time, and there was no staff nurse on. So the next day when the day nurses came in, I let the day nurses know. And I never heard anything else what had happened after I put that file in. So it was like 6 months later after that had happened, like I was still traumatized by it. Like when you get violated like that after you have a baby and you're in so much pain, and it was very traumatizing to have a violation like that happen to you after you've already had so much trauma to your body happen. So I called the hospital and I followed up with, what was the consequence of the nurse. And like, I told him, I was like, I don't want her to get fired because she was trying to help me. Like, I just want her to be educated on if she's going to offer help like that to a patient. Like, she just needs to know what she's doing. Like, don't offer help like that if she doesn't 100% know what she's doing, because that was horrific. And I remember crying on the phone to the nurse, like explaining to her, like, yeah, I'm traumatized by this because that was humiliating and violating. And I remember her telling me, like, yeah, I hear it in your voice, like how bad that sounds. She was like, we are going to educate her. And she, we moved it up to the DON, and which is like their head nurse. And she was like, it's been taken care of. And that was the last I ever heard of her. I never heard anything else after that. So that was one of the most, like, that was probably my top thing that happened that was bad as far as like physically being violated and horrific. And then I've had some, of course, moments, which I'm sure everyone has had moments, where doctors are just jerks and they say things that they think that either they're right or they don't realize are very inappropriate things to say. I'll preface this. This time was when, this is before I had my hysterectomy, and I was in so much pain. Sexual encounters with my husband were very painful, and it was not something that I could do. This is before my pain pump. This was before I had a hysterectomy. This was before I was still on that journey to figure out why I was in so much pain, why I was having so many problems. I was young. I was 26. My husband and I we've been together since I was 16, but he could tell the downfall I was on with my body and being able to enjoy life. And so I went to my doctor. I was seeing my GYN probably once a month at this point, because I was going in trying to get answers and trying to get him to troubleshoot with me, like, what's going on? Why is my body failing me? I'm young. I should be able to have sex with my husband. I should be able to do all these things, and it's not working. And I don't know if this doctor was just having a bad day that day. I don't know if he really did mean what he said. I don't know the circumstances behind it, but I can tell you, after he said what he said to me, I never went back. I left that moment in tears, and I changed my doctor that day, and I never went back. So we were sitting in the room, and I was again crying, telling him, like, I'm in pain, like, I don't know what to do. I just need answers. I need help. And he looked at me dead straight in the eyes, and he said, well, do you use toys? And I was like, what do you mean, do we use toys? And he said, do you use toys? Like, they have different kinds of toys. They have little toys, they have big toys, they have toys you can put on your husband to make it feel good for you. He's like, maybe you just need to get wetter. He's like, and then it won't be painful. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I've been seeing you for 3, 4, 5 months, and you're just now asking me. Like, it was kind of inappropriate to me that I mean, I understand what his point of view and where he was thinking, but I felt like we were so far in our patient-doctor relationship that he should have known better at this point. So I told him, I was like, yes, we've tried toys, like, it's not working. And then he looks at me and he goes, well, it's kind of like doing the dishes, right? Like, you don't want to do the dishes, you don't want to have to do the dishes, but you have to do it no matter what. So you just do it. And I just kind of looked at him and I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, you are telling me, your patient, that I'm supposed to do that duty. And he continues, that's not all he said. He continued and he said, well, I just have so many young girls like you that come in here a year or two later divorced because they don't want to satisfy their husbands. Excuse me? It's not that I don't want to satisfy my husband. I, more than anything, want to satisfy my husband. That is why I'm sitting here with you, having private conversations with you, trying to figure out why my body is not performing like it should at 26, 25 years old. I don't remember how old I was. And he treated me that way. So I started crying instantly and I said, okay, I think our appointment's done. And I left. And I called my husband and I told him what he said. And I said, I'm done. I was like, I'm not going to go to him anymore. And that was it. And then I transferred to the female GYN I have now, because at that point I was like, I will never go back to a male GYN, because I felt like, and I told my female GYN what he had said to me, and she was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe he said that to you. And I was like, well, me either, because literally that almost destroyed me. And how like, if I didn't work for the medical field, and I literally think I probably would have given up all hope at that point. Like, I can see why some patients are so traumatized by the words and the things being said to you by healthcare professionals. I get it. And yeah, so that's two of the, situations that's happened to me. And there's many, many, many more, I'm sure, over the years that I could there's just I was getting ready to end our video because we're at 18 minutes. I had surgery in Chicago, and I didn't think of myself as overweight back then, but I had a nurse walk in the room, and she took one look at me and she said, oh, did you have oh shoot, what did she call it? It was bypass. She said, oh, did you have gastric bypass surgery? And I looked at her like, no, like, didn't you read, like, now looking back at it, now knowing what I know, I'm like, why did she not read my chart? Did she not get a handoff before she came in my room? Like, you just assumed that I had gastric bypass surgery? Like, what a botch, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh. And I don't know, just craziness. Anyways, that is my video for today. So I thought it would be fun. So drop below anything you would like to share, horror stories, things that were said to you by doctors or nurses that you felt were very inappropriate or horrific, because I feel like if we don't talk about it, they're not going to know that things like that happen to us, and it sucks. So I will hopefully get another video out soon, and I think I really like being able to have the video and talking to you guys, and I think this is better than me being in my car. I just never have time. So anyways, it was nice talking to you guys, and stay healthy.